Meeting of the Town of West Warwick Planning Board, Monday, February 7th, 2022, 6 p.m. at the West Warwick Town Hall. There are members of the public and of the board joining us through Zoom. Take the roll call of attendance. I guess I'll do that. All right, I'm Joe DiMartino and I'm here. Felix Apollonia.
Here.
Tony Petrarca is not. Josh Barrett's not. Jessica Rubry.
Jess is here. Josh is joining via Zoom by the looks of it.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I can't see you, Josh, but I guess you're here.
Yeah.
Can
Let
hear
me,
you.
He was joining as you were starting the roll call, so.
Okay, all right, okay. So Josh and Jessica are both here remotely, and Joe Garcia?
Here.
Okay, so we have a quorum. Okay, good, thank you. Item 1, approval of the minutes, review and approval of January 3rd, 2022 meeting minutes.
Motion is moved for approval.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of
Aye.
approving it? Aye.
Aye.
I,
All right, item 2, BY 2021 Community Development Block Grant CDBG application. This is a certification to determine compliance of proposal. The thing that was handed out initially had some numbers. You want, could you just explain what you changed,
What you're
Elaine?
voting on tonight is that the proposals are not in conflict with the comprehensive plan of the town.
Yep.
They're basically infrastructure proposals and human service activities, which
Good.
are the activities that we have been carrying for the past 10 years or so.
Good.
The amounts, housing rehab funds will be awarded on a case-by-case basis.
Good.
Phoenix Infrastructure will be 615,000, Crompton Infrastructure 325,000, Arctic Infrastructure 150,000, St. Elizabeth Adult Day Centers, which is regional funding for 9 different communities at 100,000, Human Services Senior Center Program Operations at 50,000, and Looking Upwards, which is a group home here in town at 40,000.
Okay. And these are going to be applied for,
The
not
grant is due
necessarily
on-
guaranteed that we will get these
Correct.
amounts, but
It's
this is what we're going to
competitive
request.
application. The grant
Okay.
is due on March 3rd. The council will be voting for approval on the 15th.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
Any questions? If there are any questions of Elaine?
Yes, Elaine, how often in the past was the housing rehab utilized?
So it's on an annual basis.
Right,
About 5 years ago, they changed it to a rolling application, so we apply per household rather than a blanket amount of funding.
Okay,
but what's the level of interest been?
It's very high. Right now, it's a challenge because of COVID
Yeah.
and because of labor and construction costs.
okay. All right, good.
We have a lot of elderly people that apply, and right now they don't want
Yeah.
people coming into
Yeah.
their homes to do work.
All right, there you go.
And we've had some roofing projects come in as much as 60% higher than anticipated.
Right,
Okay,
the roofing is very high.
yeah, a lot of things.
One other question, St. Elizabeth, that regional funding, that regional funding is set by the state?
The regional funding is a benefit to us in application status, and it is recommended by the state
Okay.
that the subrecipients go to one community as a lead community that they're comfortable working with. And we've had a good relationship with St. Elizabeth, so they generally choose West Warwick on an annual basis.
Good,
Great,
thank you.
okay. And anyone else have further questions? Josh, Jessica, Joe, anybody? If not,
I'm good.
I'm good.
entertain a motion that we approve this.
Motion is made for approval.
Seconded.
And, okay, all in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Joe, roll call.
oh, sorry.
I did a roll call earlier. We did a roll call on this?
Yes.
A roll call vote? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Joe.
Okay, all right. All right, I vote yes. Felix Apollonia,
Yes,
Josh Barrett,
Yes.
Jessica Rubry,
Yes.
and Joe Garcia.
Yes.
Okay, we all vote yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks, Elaine. Okay, item 3. Cascade Falls, 771 Main Street, Assessors Plat 2, Lot 661, Public Information Meeting. Is there someone here to speak for the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. David Johnston. I'm an attorney in Warwick, Rhode Island. I represent the applicant, whose
Okay.
companies. We have with us on Zoom, Daniel Campbell, our project
Okay.
engineer. He's not on the
see him.
screen yet, but
Oh,
if he's,
I don't see him.
yeah,
Okay,
he should be available.
okay,
He's going to give someone more of the technical details, give a
okay.
but I'll
good.
briefly begin with an overview of the project. So this is a 16-unit residential proposal. This is on a site that was a former mill building, which was subject to a fire and completely destroyed. So the property is currently vacant. The proposal is designed architecturally to fit in with the historic use of the property, which was a mill building, as well as the general area. These will be 2,400 square foot, 2-bedroom units. These will be very nice, higher end units. With me this evening are also the applicants are here as well and can testify to any specifics as far as the building specifications, things of that nature. What's important to note is that the proposal is fully compliant with the zoning ordinance, as well as the land use and subdivision regulations of the town. Therefore, we are not seeking any variances. We're not seeking any waivers from the ordinance or those regulations. After this evening's hearing and barring any unforeseen changes, we will be applying to DEM for RIPD's permit, as well as wetlands permits, as well as dealing with any contaminant issue that would have happened from the prior use, as well as from the fire itself. Preliminary work to that nature has already been done. Those applications are largely prepared. We wanted to get before the town before we submit it to the state, so that we weren't making multiple applications to the state or making amendments to those applications. If Mr. Campbell is available there he is, I see him there. He can come in and give any more details he'd like to give, and otherwise we're here to respond to any questions or concerns from the board.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Can
Mr.
you-
Campbell, Al, do we have to accept him as a witness?
Yes, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Johnson, you want him qualified as an expert?
Yes, please. I apologize. Mr. Campbell
All right.
has
No, wait a
appeared.
minute, let me swear him in. Mr. Campbell, raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay,
Good.
okay. All right, Dan, go ahead.
I apologize. Mr. Campbell's appeared before this board, many other boards, many times as an expert. I asked them to be admitted
Okay,
as an
good.
expert.
All right, thank you.
Vote on,
Okay.
roll call vote on expert.
Roll call again. All right,
Yeah.
you want to accept it, Mr. Campbell? as a-
No, I shouldn't, I didn't mean roll call, just a yes or no on your.
Okay, can I have a motion that we accept the,
Motion
Dan
is
Campbell.
moved to accept as a qualified witness.
okay, second?
I second it.
Joe, and any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All right, okay. All right, Mr. Campbell, you are now a qualified expert witness. Go ahead.
Excellent. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. What we have for you tonight is a 16-unit townhouse reuse project. If I can share a screen, 16 townhouse reuse project on an existing mill property. So what the properties looks like today is vacant. However, just 8 years ago, it had a mill building, as you see here outlined on the existing conditions plan. Multiple different buildings on the site had a sluiceway or a mill raceway through the property, all of which after the fire was filled in or closed temporarily in accordance with DEM regulations.
Yep.
So in 2004, the property looked much like this, with the mill buildings here, the raceway coming through and back out into the river. And in 2020, it looks primarily of this nature, as I said, filled in and temporarily capped.
Okay.
So our proposed project is a 16-unit townhouse that fronts on Main Street, one single driveway onto Main Street to the rear, parking into each individual unit, and visitor or accessory parking in the rear, with a dumpster pad at the far end of the property closest to the abutting commercial property. The intent of the property is going to be overland drainage towards the river, treated prior to getting there in accordance with DEM regulations. The requirements through DEM are going to have a lot to do with the type of soils that are encountered when everything is classified on site, which is why we've held off really until after this public hearing. We have had preliminary conversations with your former planner, DEM, in accordance with what they might want to see. But they primarily wanted to see some sort of movement forward with the town before we made an application on their behalf. The buildings, as they are proposed, we worked extensively with the former planner to create a mill style building structure that fronts on Main Street to give the appearance of what the former mills or mill housing looked like.
No, okay. Okay. It's my understanding, Al, you might correct me if I'm wrong, that this would require the zoning, to go to zoning for final approval.
He just said that they had arranged for no zoning.
No, they're not asking for any relief.
Any relief.
I got that, but any multifamily requires a special permit from zoning, no?
Yeah, that's right. They do need a special use permit.
You need a special use permit, so they have to go to zoning.
Yeah,
So
I thought you meant really.
No, the zoning board has to grant the final
Yeah.
approval. Just, we will recommend, just as a caution, we will recommend, but the zoning board is not obligated to adhere to our recommendation, okay? Usually
Mr.
they
Chairman,
do.
can I clarify? Yeah,
yes.
I just wanted to clarify. This is, all right, so this is, they're here in front of you for master plan, at the master
Yes.
plan stage. Tonight,
Yes.
all it is the public information meeting, which is a step along the way. There's no
Yep.
decision tonight, but, you know, if the board has the meeting tonight and you listen to the members of the public, there could be a decision at the next meeting and you're right, at that point, they would go to zoning and then, I think come back for a preliminary plan.
Okay, thank you. Our acting town planner, Susan Mara. Thank you, Susan. Okay, so this is from master plan, but
No, Joe.
it's not, right?
No,
It's a
this
hearing.
is informational only. You're just
Okay.
listening to
No
them.
decisions
The
needed
public's getting
tonight.
a chance to speak.
Right, but
And-
it is part of the master plan review process. The public
Yep,
information meeting
yep,
is part of
yep.
that process. Yep.
Yes, okay. So a question for Susan or for Al. Does this mean next month, we don't have to have a public hearing? We have a public hearing now, and then next month we can just give them the decision?
That's
Or do we-
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right,
But and then during preliminary plan, there will be another actual public hearing, once they come back.
Right, after
Yeah.
they go to zoning.
After
get
they
approval
go
for
to zoning,
then they
come
come back
back.
here. Okay,
Yep.
got it. Thank you. Okay, Dan, are you done at this point? I think for master plan. I don't have any questions. Anybody else have
Yeah,
any questions of Dan?
questions?
Dan, quick question. So typically when we get multifamilies, typically when the fire department makes access, I know they'll make access to Main Street, they have to make access into the property. Typically, doesn't look like there's enough for a turnaround there and backing up onto Main Street. Have you, I know we're just up for discussion, but has this went or even any discussion opened up with the West Warwick Fire Department on this one?
We did have preliminary discussion.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I can clarify too, as part of this, before the meeting, where the decision is, they'll have the meeting of the technical review committee, and that'll include police and fire, engineering, building, zoning.
There's plenty of room behind it. I think-
Okay, because I don't know how much plot of land you have if they came back and said, hey, let's need a turnaround for the back. So, listen, we're willing to help. We're always looking to increase the town and bring more tax dollars in. But I just don't know how they'll proceed with a truck pulling into the back of that building and not being, I don't think they're gonna like backing out, but we'll go to the technical committee and see what they say.
You're a
I
step
can
ahead,
answer, I can answer a little bit. So what we've done at this point,
Yep.
if you look at our site plan, we have visitor parking basically in two areas here. We're looking at putting drainage in between the two,
Mhm.
basically swaling it in.
Yep.
If we had to put in a turnaround for the fire truck, it would be some sort of stone turnaround right through here. That grass swale would just split into two. we do have the room to give them a true turnaround. But,
Okay.
given everything that it is, we're trying to consolidate a little bit. Go to DEM, have some preliminary conversations, especially because of soil conditions.
Yeah, okay. And Dan, all of the units have access directly to the street, directly to Main Street.
They all have access directly to Main Street, and they all have parking garages underneath them in the rear.
And you're meeting the river setback requirements.
Correct. We meet all of the requirements. And although in the mill reuse overlay district, there aren't many, we do meet those, and we do meet the requirements of the square footage per dwelling unit at 16 is in accordance with the zoning ordinance as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Joe, after, assuming they get master plan,
Yep.
before they can go to preliminary, all of those issues have to be
Addressed.
determined by the building official, the fire marshal, and all of those separate issues.
Yep.
Any questions that are raised, primarily, as Sue said, at TRC, they have to resolve all of them before they can file with you for preliminary.
Preliminary. Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions for Dan or for the applicant?
I'm good. Thanks.
All right, good. Okay, are there anyone here that wants to speak in support of this proposal in the public? No, anyone wants to speak in opposition to it? No, I don't see any. Okay, then since no decision is necessary, I want to thank you for coming. Appreciate this, and we
I
look
think you
forward
should have,
to.
Joe, I think you should, technically, I think you should have a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
It's not a public hearing. It's like it's a public information session.
Okay.
So
Alright.
it's
Well,
noticed
okay.
differently. You don't have to do that. It's more for
Okay.
if people have questions about the application.
Right, and at this point, it appears as though no one has any questions. So thank you.
Thank you very
We
much.
look forward to
Thanks,
seeing
Dan.
you back
Appreciate it.
here as you go through this process. Okay, thank you. Item 4, East Greenwich Luxury Estates, 511 East Greenwich Avenue, Assessors Plat 30, Lot 17, public information meeting. So again, this is a public information meeting again, and is there somebody here to represent the developer?
Sorry, Joe, I'm
I got it. It's okay, Tom.
Is that Mr. Cronin?
Yes, it is. Hello, Tom.
Hello. Hi, Thomas Cronin, 1070 Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island. For the applicant, actually, Mr. Chairman, we are not going to have a public meeting this evening.
Okay,
There was a problem with the notice on the agenda.
okay,
We are going to voluntarily continue this matter to a date certain, and we're requesting the next meeting,
okay.
March 7th,
Yep.
2022, 6 PM here in the town of Coventry, town of West Warwick Town Hall. So the public portion of the meeting will have to be delayed until that time.
Yep.
Our notice in the agenda did not match.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
So the
So-
notice said 20 units or 18 units or
yeah,
something. and
right,
agenda
the
says
notice
16.
said 20 units and the agenda said 16. And of course, if the agenda had said more, we'd be happy to accept that. But since
Okay.
it said less, we'll ask to continue it.
Okay,
I would like this opportunity to present the informational portion to the board.
okay.
We'll do it again next month. but,
And next month,
yeah.
it will be a public hearing. as
Public
well.
hearing, and I'll have witnesses as well.
Okay, all right, good.
So this is Padula Builders, Inc., 511 East Greenwich Avenue, West Warwick, AP 30, Lot 17. It's on the south side of East Greenwich Avenue, and it's zoned R10.
Yep.
It's a kind of a confusing site, so you can see that I've done some artwork, some color by numbers on my map. It's currently 6.3 acres. It has a 2-family residence on it now with a garage, and those are in tough condition, and those are going to be knocked down as part of these plans. The proposed use is a condominium, and the chair precisely described what we'll need to do to get this approved: master plan, go to zoning for multifamily, and then back to planning for preliminary, exactly what is anticipated in this project. So next month, we'll have master plan public hearing. Then we will have to go to zoning for multifamily. There is one variance we're going to ask for. The proposed two-story condominiums are 34 feet in height.
Yeah.
30 is allowed.
Okay.
So we'll be asking for a height variance at zoning.
Okay.
In the area, we have residential use. To the east and west of this property are single-family homes. To the rear of it is the Cox Communications property.
Yep.
And across the street is a condominium at 500 East Greenwich Avenue. The proposal is guided by a wetland on the property. So if you look at my depiction here, the wetland is outlined in yellow. It's a pretty substantial
Yeah.
wooded wetland.
Yeah.
Can I see it? Sure, of course. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead, Tom.
The wetland right here. Outlined in yellow.
Tom, move it out a little bit. You can't.
You
see
should
on
move it
the
out so
Zoom.
we can see it, Tom.
Well, there's
Yeah,
a conflict.
Brings it over to where he's standing. I can reverse the camera angle so that people watching on Zoom and some of the other stuff will be able to see it.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
I don't want to put it right in front of you, sir.
Okay.
Does that work, Joe?
All right, Tom, to the left, no, just a little bit to the right, Tom. Maybe left.
How's that? How's that?
Can you zoom in?
Okay. Now they can't see it again.
No, we're good.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I apologize for the confusion,
It's okay.
but looking at this property here, you can see the wetland's been delineated by a biologist. It's a substantial, almost half of the property, a little over 2 acres. There's a 50-foot wetland buffer right here between the pink and the yellow, goes all the way around.
Yep.
Then you have the limit of disturbance. This is the area that can be built upon, outlined in pink. So the project will be within the pink outline. That's the limit of disturbance area. So we have 5 buildings with 4 units each off East Greenwich Avenue,
Okay.
public sewer, public water, and access,
Yep.
all from East Greenwich Avenue. The drainage is off here in this area to the east, running parallel to East Greenwich Avenue. So there's a garage, single garage with each unit, 40 paved spaces for a total of 60 spaces where 40 are required. Various times in front of various boards in this town, garage spaces have not counted. So we always err on the side of caution. So, like I said, these are 2-story townhouse style condominiums with the garage underneath. And the only variance that we'll be requesting is for the height of the units. So obviously, just given even my sketchbook here, you'll see that we'll spend quite a bit of time here at DEM once we get past the conceptual portion of this process, working out the drainage aspects of this as the area is wet. You can see that there's an actual creek that leaves this property underneath East Greenwich Avenue and continues along. So it's more than just a little wet. But we got a nice dry area over here, and we're gonna fit the 5 buildings in that area and contain the drainage over here on this portion. There's plenty of room to do that. So that's the concept. If the board has any questions or concerns that I can address, otherwise we'll be back next month with some expert testimony, more than the coloring.
The access is right across from the other condominium development.
That's right, 500 East Greenwich Avenue, directly across.
And those, there are 5 or 6 units per building in that. as
I believe
recall.
so. They're all similar style.
Similar style.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions of Mr. Cronin while he's here?
Should we take the time and look at the soils report, or do we want to wait till the next meeting?
You're going to have the engineer with you?
Yes,
next time?
I'll have the
Site
engineer.
Analysis narrative,
Yes.
Yeah.
a lot of comments in the soils report that I'm seeing that I'd like to touch base
Sure.
with an expert on.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so Scott Moorhead's the engineer in the project.
Okay.
He'll be here with us next month.
Okay, all right, okay. So next month, we'll you're gonna have to spend some time explaining everything, going through all the engineers' reports and doing all of that.
Right.
And then then it goes to zoning after that. And then comes back to us, assuming zoning approves it. Okay,
Correct. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, good to
Thank
see you.
Any
Good to
other,
see you all.
not any
Mr.
questions?
We need a
Mr.
motion.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Tom, I understand you're looking for the public information and master plan next month, right?
That's
We're
correct.
gonna do both. at the same
Yes.
time. But you still have to go to zoning
Still have to go to zoning.
and then come back.
Still.
Correct.
Only because, because of notice requirements. In this particular instance, Mr. Chairman, I would request that the matter be continued to date, time certain,
Yep.
and location certain for public information and master plan. Just put
Thank
it
you.
on the record that way.
Okay,
It saves
so,
the.
all right, so we
advertising.
should have a motion to do that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and I think that they will have to renotice the meeting in the newspaper and via the
Yes.
postcards as well.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Whatever needs to be done, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Cronin. Okay, can I have a motion that we,
Before we do that, I have one question for
Yeah.
what's this, the acting planner?
yeah, Susan Mara, she's, yes.
Have you looked at the soils report in detail, the site analysis?
I have looked at it, and so has Jim Jeremiah. We've both reviewed it, and we're gonna also review it with the technical review committee, I think in about a week.
Okay, thank
great.
you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion. Al, what's the motion have to say? We wanted to.
Motion to continue to date, time, and place certain for the purpose of informational meeting and master plan.
And master plan together. And the motion actually, to be clear, is to go to the March 7th meeting.
That's correct.
Okay, okay. All right,
Motion is made to continue to March 7th.
okay.
Seconded.
Joe? No, any further questions, conversation? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
See you next month.
See you next month.
Sure. It's not my meeting. You can ask the chairman. Can we take a moment so she can take?
Yes. Yes,
Now, where would they come out on East Greenwich Avenue?
right across the entrance to the other condominiums across the street, apparently.
Right across the street?
See, they line up right there, which is good. Okay, all right, thank you. Item 5, Brothers Farm, Plat 13, lots 53 and 765. Request to combine master and preliminary plans and waive the public informational meeting. Anyone here to talk about Brothers Farm? This wasn't Brothers Farm, right? This was the East Greenwich Avenue one.
Brothers Farm is.
Yeah.
So is it Joe that's doing the meeting? It looks like Brian King.
Brian King has
Yep.
his name up. We're gonna.
Yeah, if you move him to a panelist, I think he is here to
Oh, yeah,
present.
so we can talk to him. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome. Should be in any second.
All right.
And there's
Okay,
Brian.
okay, Brian.
Hi,
Who
everyone.
are you? All right, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, I'm Brian King from Crossman Engineering. I'm here tonight to make a request for Brothers Farm subdivision. I can
Ms.
give-
King, could you raise your right hand?
Yes,
I tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Mr. Chairman, my knowledge of Mr. King, I would suggest the board accept him as an expert.
All right, I'll accept him. I'll entertain a motion that we accept.
Move the
Mr. King.
motion to accept him as an expert.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and now, Mr. King is not the owner or an attorney. Is that a problem?
The board can authorize it.
We can authorize, so do we need to entertain a motion for that?
Yes.
All right, so I need a motion to allow Mr. King to speak on
Motion is
behalf.
made
All
to
right.
allow Mr. King to speak.
Okay, is there a second?
Joe Garcia, second.
Okay, Joe, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Brian,
Aye.
go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So I'm Brian King with Crossman Engineering. We are the civil engineers for the Brothers Farm subdivision. This subdivision has actually been before you already. It's been a while, though. It was originally before you as a 12-lot subdivision. It's now a 10-lot subdivision. It's in a R8 zone, and location is where it is. It's in the area of Narragansett Ave and Crompton Avenue. We did receive master plan approval in May of 2019. Since then, we have received DEM approval. We've received Kent County Water, Sewer. We've submitted all this information. And last summer, we started discussing with the previous planner the resubmittal of this plan for the preliminary review stage. Because there had been a couple of years time elapsed, and the number of lots that went from 12 to 10, the previous planner recommended that we went with a combined master preliminary review. So we're here tonight to request that at the March meeting, this be heard as a public hearing as a combined master preliminary for the 10-lot subdivision.
So zoning denied the previous permit.
That is correct. When we came to you in May of 2019,
Yep.
we did receive a positive recommendation for 12 lots. We went to zoning, and they thought that it could be done with less lots to meet the zoning requirements. So we did look at several different options, and that's why some time had passed.
Yep.
And finally, we came up with a 10-lot subdivision that meets the zoning ordinance. And that's what we had moved forward with for the state permitting, Kent County Water and Sewer, which we do have approvals for. So it's very similar to the 12 lots, it's just less lots. So the lots are a little bigger and everything conforms.
And, but you will have to go back to zoning board for approval, right? You haven't done that.
No, I don't believe we do. I think this meets the zoning requirements. Is no,
So since you're not asking for any variances at all.
we are not asking for any
This is
variance.
entirely, okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so you're gonna come back next month. You're gonna
Yes.
have the
If we
detailed
can.
plans, go from master and
Yes.
preliminary at the same time.
And I'm certainly willing to go through them tonight as well. But I guess
Yeah, it's best, that it hasn't been advertised, that's right. So the public hearing will be next month.
okay.
Okay. All right, anyone have any other questions of Brian?
Nope, I'm good.
We're good?
Good.
We all good? We're gonna see you next month, Brian.
Okay.
So this
So-
this requires a vote
Yeah,
to approve the combining of those two phases.
okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to grant the request that combining the master plan and preliminary plan. Now it says on the letter you want to come in May, not next month in March.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry,
correct.
March. Yes, definitely March. Yes.
All right. Okay,
As the,
because the notice for the meeting, the agenda said May. But we don't have to worry, we can still do March, right? We don't have to worry about
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and just make sure you include in the motion that it's okay for him to forego the public information meeting. That's allowed by state law when you combine the phases.
Oh, okay.
You can
Okay.
you can forego the public information meeting. Mark, had actually recommended this, before he
Before-
left.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
because it has already been in front of the planning board for a public information meeting in May of 2019. So he thought this was,
but the public
Yeah.
believes that this was rejected in zoning. Why would we want to eliminate another public information meeting?
you
The
will still
public-
have a public
The
hearing.
The public may believe this is a denied project.
Yeah, you are going to have advertise and have a public hearing in March, right?
Yes.
So all this request is just to combine the master plan and preliminary into that one public hearing?
Yes.
Why do we want to combine them together? What's the purpose of that?
So like Mark's recommendation was to do that because the master plan already had been in front of the planning board and received master planning approval. And so, a lot of the issues have already been identified and addressed, and they've already been, they've gotten all of their permits and they've worked with all the different state agencies. So, given that the planning board has like seen it multiple times already, that was Mark's recommendation. And, I do think it does make sense.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is the vote to also waive this public informational hearing as well?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. So we are waiving the public informational hearing. And the rationale for that is we did that in 2019,
Right. And you still do have your public hearing.
and we will have a public hearing with the combination. Okay.
But the circumstances and facts have changed on this project.
Yes, they have.
They have. They've gotten, I think the way that Mark was looking at it, and I tend to agree with him, it's gotten smaller. Like some of the issues that were brought up are sort of, being addressed by reducing the scale of the project. If this was a request to increase the lots, I don't think we would make that same recommendation, but
My concern is how this looks to the public.
Yeah.
My concern is how it looks optically to the public.
Mhm.
Well, I think, Felix, that if you look at it, that basically it went from planning to zoning. Zoning said, we don't like the number of units you have. We want you to reduce the number of units. So they did. They did what zoning asked them to do, and they reduced the number of units because zoning said, you're asking us to give you permission to have more units than you're allowed. We won't do that. Get it back to what the number of units you're allowed. So they did. They went back, they put in the number of units that were allowed, and now they're coming back before you and saying, okay, zoning said, we don't want to give you any relief. We don't need any relief because we did what zoning asked us to do.
So the abutters will be served notice and the opportunity to appear and voice as they normally would in any informational meeting.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a full hearing for master and preliminary, where on the master, they would normally come in and Tom Cronin will stand there and give you a spiel. What's going to happen at the next hearing is they're going to come in and because they're doing both master, which is conceptual, and preliminary, which I'll call as positive, they have to come in with their engineering, with
Okay,
traffic, whatever.
I understand the specifics. Thanks for the explanation.
So so what I'm thinking is, instead of saying waiving the public meeting, why don't we say it's going to be public meeting, master planning, and preliminary planning all together in one meeting?
Because the statute says you have to formally say you're not going to have an informational meeting.
Okay. All right, so what I'm looking for then is a motion to have at the March meeting,
Would you like a suggestion?
yes, I would.
A motion to waive informational meeting and have a master plan and preliminary plan before you in March.
Okay, all right, we good? All right, anyone want to turn that into a motion?
Move that motion.
All right, thanks, Josh.
I'll second it.
Joe, second. If there's no further, let's vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. All right, Brian, see you next month.
Thanks,
Thank you. See
Brian.
you guys next month.
Thank you. Wait a minute, Brian, before you go. In the past, we have not let surveyors or engineers speak on behalf of the property owner or the applicant. Okay, so bring the applicant.
We'll bring the applicant.
Oh,
and the
you're
attorney.
returning.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, make sure. All right, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, item 6, Town of West Warwick Planning Board, West Warwick Land Development Subdivision, Review Regulation Amendment. Al, you want to explain this to us?
Yeah. What happened was, and I have to take the blame, I was not aware that basically the primary part of this is the time limits that the planning board has to act on things, the time that filings have to be certified, had been changed by the state statute. Our subdivision regulations were never changed. When Mark was handling it, he knew it had been done and he just enforced it without having actually gone to the change of the regulations. What all of these regulations does is I went through the various amendments to the general laws that had occurred that rendered changes to our subdivision regulations. These do is bring our subdivision regulations in compliance with the general laws. And it's primarily in dates, but it's just bringing us into compliance with the law, amending our regulations. And hopefully, if you do this, there have been several amendments prior that were kind of just thrown in at various times. If I'm fortunate enough to have you amend the regulations as I'm requesting, what I intend to do is then take the full body, which I've already put together, and go to the town manager and request permission to bring them to Muni code, like I did with the town ordinances, and have them put it together as a complete package and put it in our code of ordinances.
Okay, and we did get in our packet the details on the changes. That's the one, I think we did.
It's what I did was I took statutory language and put it into our.
Put it into our, and you've listed on the agenda the sections that are going to have.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions of Al?
No, so the underlined items are the items that were added, correct?
Yes.
And then you have your strikeouts that were changed.
Yes, that format from before I was involved has been the format that the council has used to make amendments. They use cross out and underline. And once the ordinance or whatever is passed, that format then goes to Muni code. So they know, and the final product comes out based. That's just the methodology that has been used.
Are you seeing, is there any significant change on here that jumps out at you we should be aware of?
No, just the significant change is more of Sue's problem, where we were working under dates that when poor Sue came in, we had dates that didn't exist.
All right.
Yeah, this just brings the local regs in compliance with the state regs. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Does this go to the council after we?
No.
Approve it? So once we approve it tonight, it's done.
It's done.
Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Jessica. Second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Thank you, Joe.
That has to be by roll call, I believe.
Roll call. Well, let's do a roll call. Okay. I vote yes. Felix Apollonia,
Yes.
Josh Barrett,
Yes.
Jessica Rubery,
Yes.
and Joe Garcia.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, where are we on the agenda? Are we done? Public comment. Hello.
Mark Bourget, 3 Megan Court.
Yep.
The 2 new houses on East Greenwich Avenue that are being built just east of where the
Yep.
511 project. Whenever it rains now, it never did it before, the huge puddle goes out halfway across East Greenwich Avenue. Was that something that was considered when the planning board was doing this? Is there anything that was put in that's supposed to rectify this, or?
It was not an issue at that time. Like you
Right.
said, it didn't happen that way. So
Right.
it was never discussed here.
It was never discussed?
No. And they did present storm drainage plans, but never discussion of any flooding that might have happened before, that this was going to alleviate that. And they did have to provide engineering that there would be no additional water runoff. So it could be during construction, this is an issue, I'm not sure. But maybe we could ask the town manager to look into it. Okay, we'll have the building officials look into it. Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was something that was during the planning process.
No, it was not an
if it was
issue at
ever
all
discussed.
during the planning process. So it wasn't discussed at all. We frankly, I'm surprised to hear it because, you know, what they presented is it could be a during construction period issue that'll be addressed when they finish it, but I'm not sure.
I hope so, because that was one of the things I just spoke to Mr. Cronin about, because they're gonna shoot all their water to the east also.
Yeah.
So it's gonna add more water down to that area. We're already over flooding.
Yeah.
Halfway across East Greenwich Avenue,
Good
so.
concern. Thank you.
The other thing is Madison Ridge condos.
Yeah.
Again, water issue. When it rains a lot,
Yeah.
the water just flows right down the driveway onto Greenbush and like floods down at the end of Drawbridge. It's pretty much the same issue. I know they're supposed to have a retention pond, but it doesn't seem like they're catching their water.
Okay. Maybe that's another question for the building official. Yeah, to have the building, it would be nice if the building official could take a look at it.
Yeah. That's the one on Greenbush, right over by Greenbush School,
Elementary.
That's the big.
the big condo
Yeah, that's
development
the
they're putting up
condo
there. I just wanted to make sure that I had it
Yeah,
right
no,
in my
please-
head that they're supposed to have a retention pond that's supposed to catch all that, right?
Yep,
For-
they
for
are
the
supposed to
planning?
have, and that was what they presented, that there was a
Okay.
retention pond that was going to catch.
I
that.
just wanted to clarify
And it
with you
could just
before.
be during construction issue. That's why asking the building official to take a look at it seems to be.
Yeah, it's just that their construction's taken many years now that.
We know that. We're well aware of that.
Mark,
Yes,
if
Al.
I may, I would suggest that you talk to Bob and or Fred Gill to make sure that they are seeing that the plans as filed are being done in compliance, the work is being done in compliance with the plans.
That's
I
the
just
issue.
wanted to check with the planning board just to make sure that I was correct, that there was supposed to be a retention pond and they're supposed to be catching that before I went
Yep,
to
yes.
Bob to say, hey, can you go check on this? Because otherwise he probably would have just called somebody on the planning board and said they're supposed to have this. So
Okay, no, they are supposed to have. it.
How
They are
far
supposed to.
along is the project? Is it
It's
still?
sitting forever.
it is a long way from completion. And that's why, and part of it's, there's not a lot of condo sales, so there doesn't seem to be a big rush.
Yeah.
And now they want to put more condos, so it's like, I don't know.
There are several projects that were approved over a decade ago that
Mhm.
are only under construction now.
Right, right. No,
Similar issues.
yeah, I get it. Housing market went short and a lot of people want to resurrect old things.
Yeah.
But this is not this is not one of those projects. This is.
No, this is
approved
one that was
within the
approved
last.
more recently.
Yeah, a lot more recently, so.
And they have, and yeah, it's a construction issue, I'm sure right now. Are they doing what they said they were going to do? Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? No one else here. Is there anyone on Zoom? Joe, is anybody on Zoom that wants to talk?
There is one person in attendance and there's no hand up or anything like that to speak, so I think we are good, Joe.
Okay, all right, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Joe, just one quick thing.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be like we're gonna be able to do this remotely, or is this just a one-time deal, or is this gonna be like the new norm?
This is month by month with the governor's executive orders.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just didn't know what because
Yeah,
I'm in
guess
Philly
is,
today. So,
my guess is next month we'll be back here in person totally. But
okay, no problem.
but that's a guess.
Okay.
It's too bad, Joe, we don't get to see you when we're all in person, you know?
Well,
You
maybe
could always just
maybe
come
we
to one of
can-
our meetings, you know?
Maybe we can have a remote meeting at Al's house because it looked like the sun was out and it was 80 degrees.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It was.
All right, so do we have a motion to adjourn or what?
Move that motion.
All right. there's-
Second.
Made and seconded, we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Susan, welcome. Thank you very much.
Welcome,
Hopefully
Susan.
We'll see you here
Thank
next
you.
month.
Thank you,
right?
Susan.